Olá, pessoal, sejam todos muito bem-vindos a mais um conteúdo da semana de vendas B2B ou B2B Sales Week in English da Plumes. E é um enorme prazer indescritível estar mais uma vez com esse fenômeno que é o Aaron Ross, que topou estar aqui com a gente mais uma vez para responder algumas perguntas. So, Aaron, thank you very much for accepting our invite. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, hey Octavio, happy to be here.
Nice. Ok, pessoal, a gente vai fazer algumas perguntas para o Aaron, que vai ficar à vontade aí para respondê-las. E eu vou perguntar em português, and then I will ask in English as well for Aaron, so that he can understand and answer those questions. So let's start. Na primeira participação dos nossos eventos, a gente falou sobre inteligência emocional em negociações com o Aaron. E no ano passado, sobre potencializar vendas em um mundo que estava caótico. E agora em 2023 a gente precisa ainda mais dessas dicas, né, pessoal? Porque empresas continuam precisando crescer em um mundo que está cada vez mais caótico. A gente está vivendo um estouro agora de inteligência artificial, está se falando muito nisso. Enquanto o metaverso ele ainda não está dominando, ele ainda não engrenou como potencialmente vai, o chat GPT parece ser o início de algo que vai ser muito grande, e o chat GPT ele é só uma pontinha, ele é só um exemplo, e na nossa conversa a gente vai elaborar esse cenário, a gente vai falar um pouco sobre esse mundo caótico, sobre essa evolução também de IA que a gente não aguentou, a gente ficou muito curioso e ansioso para perguntar isso para o Aaron. So, Aaron, how can AI support predictable revenue? What in Portuguese will mean? Como está o cenário na visão do Aaron? Como é que a IA pode apoiar a receita previsível, pessoal? Aaron, please.
Sure. Well, as magical as AI has been, and it can be to some extent, it's not going to, you know, overnight replace or change a lot in sales yet. And what I really believe is going to be a long time of mostly lots of little improvements to see how AI is going to help simplify things or speed things up or make things possible that you couldn't do before, right? A lot in the early days would be taking care of some of the heavy lifting that marketers or salespeople or prospectors or managers need to do. So for your salesperson, it might be kind of data gathering or researching or at least getting a first draft together. As a writer, and having been in sales, I know how intimidating an empty page can be to start. As you kind of get your process going, it can also help in automating things you may not be able to get to easily, trying to again simplify and summarize things, and ultimately just help streamline the things you're usually already doing. So really, like AIC for a while to be helping you kind of get over little bottlenecks that you have. Again, maybe repetitive tasks or places where you get stuck. Hopefully, increasing the data in your system and the usability of that data, and making it easier to get to things you wouldn't normally have the time or attention to get to. Like, for example, on a marketing side, maybe it's just too much to try to do also videos or blogs. And AI is one example is to make it easy to take things you create in one format and turn it into another. So ultimately, for a while, I do AI could make huge changes in sales and marketing, but for foreseeable future, it's gonna be lots of little incremental changes that evolve over time into massive ones.
Okay, now you're hearing me. Sorry.
Now I can
Okay,
hear
thank
you.
you very much, Aaron. So the next question, at first in Portuguese, would be, pessoal, a gente quer entender como é que eu posso entender quais ferramentas, quais tecnologias que fazem sentido para o meu negócio. Como é que eu sei se eu devo testar ou se eu devo aderir só depois, quando uma ferramenta já está consolidada? Isso tem a ver com essa pergunta da inteligência artificial, com as ferramentas que a gente está vendo surgir. Okay, now in English, Aaron, in your opinion, how do I know which tools, which technologies make sense for my business? How do I decide if I should actively test technologies or wait until they are well established? So How do I decide if my company should be an early adopter or a bystander?
Yeah. Right. So how should you decide if how often you should test new things versus wait until the kinks are worked out? And let's say if you are already using software, chances are that software company, whether it's a CRM application or something for sales development or marketing, probably already has plans to incorporate AI or new features into that platform. I think so. Sometimes that best strategy is just rather than trying to test all the new things, is just to wait. It's very easy to underestimate the amount of time and energy it takes to test new technologies, to find them and research them and try them to the point where you actually can tell, oh, okay, this is useful or not. So I think generally you want to, if you're already using technologies that you like, probably wait. And so they add the things that are better. But otherwise, if you have someone on the team, there's usually someone on a team who really is enthusiastic and excited to look at the new things. Have them do it, right? Have them, they can be the person that goes in and investigates some of these new ideas and technologies and to tell, okay, they sound really great and it sounds cool, but is it going to be something that's practical day to day that we're actually going to use? And honestly, a lot of the AI, let's talk about AI because that's a lot of the new stuff. A lot of the AI tools and AI features are cool, but it's kind of hard to use it day to day. So I think you ideally do want to start looking at new ideas and testing them to see if they can work, but rely primarily on the people. If you don't have anyone who really likes to get into the new technology, just wait. If you have someone on the team who's really excited to try those new things and to otherwise figure out how to incorporate that into kind of your, let's call it your boring day to day way that you do things, even better. But you don't need to wait to see how things settle out, and you don't have to rush into it headlong because even it's going to, a lot of these applications and new technologies, they always sort themselves out over time. So you kind of have to feel like, where do you sit on that spectrum as a person or a team in your willingness to dive in early and go through all the time and energy it takes to often waste to sort out the things that work best, or you're the type that's just more efficient to wait to see how it settles out, so it's already kind of been figured out for you by other people. There's really no right way to do it. It's like what fits you and your culture and your style there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ok. The next question, in Portuguese at first. Pessoal, a gente, na Plumes, a gente atende muitas empresas que ainda não são negócios que estão com times extensos de vendas, times grandes de vendas. E a próxima pergunta tem tudo a ver com isso, se a gente deve esperar para testar coisas ou se mesmo com uma operação mais enxuta, com menos vendedores, é hora da gente agir e testar essas tecnologias. Então vamos perguntar sobre tamanho de time para o Aaron, que seria, se eu decido testar algo, eu preciso ter um time grande ou eu posso fazer isso com uma operação enxuta? Times pequenos deveriam de antemão deixar de testar por falta de pessoa ou isso não pode ser um limitador? So, now in English, Sharon, when I decide to actively test new tools and technologies, how big my team should be? Can I do can I do it with a small team as well? So can I afford to test something new for my team if my team is small, or it shouldn't be a blocker as well?
Yeah. How big does your team have to be to really test new things effectively? And I think it's not so much how big your team is; it's almost like how much uh, energy or time or attention do you have to devote to that? Because you could be one person, which for myself, right? I have a big family. We have 10 kids. I don't feel like I have a lot of time and energy to do anything unless I really want to do it. And so for AI, like I see so many interesting things and I just, you know, it's too much, right? So I generally just wait and see how things get sorted out because I don't have the extra time and energy. But there's a place where I've had some needs. So when I'm writing, and for example, I'm doing some nonfiction writing about kind of money in the family on a new book. I'm also doing some fiction writing, a story just for fun. And there's really one main place that I get stuck with writing. And I use AI for this very well. And this one place that I get stuck in more than one place, but the main place I get stuck is with names. What do I name characters or towns or whatever I'm thinking of? AI has been amazing to give me ideas for names. And so I think wherever you are, thinking about, yeah, there's always some problem. You always have problems, but rather than getting lost in all the could be's and should be's and trying to the fear of missing out, is there a specific problem you're really trying to solve? And in that case, it doesn't matter how big your team is. It could be one person or 100, because you're going to be looking to solve that problem anyway. On all the kind of sexy stuff, the things that look cool, look interesting, and could be helpful, I think at that point, again, it's picking usually like one person, or small team, or one person, people who already want to look into these sorts of things, or places you feel like it's really vital. Clearly, if you have a marketing software company or a marketing agency, you have to be knowledgeable about what's going on there to some extent. So whether it's one person or 10 or 50 people, usually picking one person to be kind of in charge of looking into these new areas, trying to get a sense of what's happening and reporting back.
Muito bom. Thank you very much, Aaron. So, pessoal, acho que ficou claríssimo aí que nunca é cedo para começar e algumas dicas do Aaron como delegar, colocar uma pessoa principalmente responsável por isso, fantástico. So the next question is really, really interesting. So first in Português, a gente falou bastante sobre IA, entendeu a opinião do Aaron sobre como isso está nesse momento. Mas a gente queria saber num espectro maior, né, pessoal, como é que o Aaron acredita que a IA vai interferir em processo de vendas. Então, você que é um profissional de vendas ou um gestor, será que a IA ameaça o nosso trabalho? Será que é um potencial substituto para para a nossa operação? Qual que é a opinião de vocês disso? A gente vai ouvir do Aaron agora sobre isso. So, Aaron, we've talked a lot about the current status of AI, but in a wider context, how do you think those new technologies will impact sales processes and the routines of sales professionals? So, in other words, will AI replace humans in sales at some time, or maybe what? What is your opinion?
Yeah. So let's talk about this idea of AI replacing people. And there's even been I live in the United Kingdom, and there's been some reports or announcements of big companies like British Telecom saying, hey, we're going to replace 10,000 people or 30,000 people. I don't remember the exact numbers, a lot of people with AI over the next 5 years. And I think in sales, there will be some jobs that are going to be replaced, but I believe there's going to be just as many created. Again, the jobs that can be replaced are going to be still, even with AI, generally lower level, repetitive, um, you know, repetitive customer support, repetitive sales questions, inbound lead response, maybe researching. But the thing is, no matter how much AI can come in to replace or automate repetitive, boring jobs and tasks, there's something that's created, which is more of a need for a human to be involved at some point. Because look, as customers, as consumers, think about all the places that technology has replaced humans before, on the phone or with chat or email, the knowledge databases. And by phone, I mean like phone mail mazes. So for a knowledge base online, great, you can go in, you can get answers to a lot of simple questions quickly. AI will make that even better. Or you can chat with AI. But there's still a lot of times where you need to talk to a human. And whether you're in sales or support or marketing, you're going to have just as many people who they're going to love not having to talk to humans. There'll be just as many and more that'll get frustrated and like, I just want to talk to a human. I don't want an AI bot. I don't want chat. I want to talk to a person because for a lot of us, either you can't get the right answer from AI because it's still often great, but not as ideal as a human, or there's a connection that's missing, or you just get tired of all the repetitive answers that you can often get from machines still. That might change someday. If you're like me, I can often see, oh, okay, I'm chatting. How often do I go on to chat with some, with a phone company or bank or even software company, and it's a bot, and my first impression is agent, because I know unless it's a very simple question, I'm just going to get bounced around from one thing to the other until I get to a human anyway. Right. So the same thing's going to happen, which is as many as a lot of jobs. And not that, I mean, sales is still going to be a difficult job to replace even sales development. So there would be a lot of, um, it's not so much replacing jobs, AI replacing tasks for a while. But even as jobs start to be becoming replaced or changed, a lot more new jobs will be opened up that require humans.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It was really clear your answer. So, pessoal, muito legal. Aqueles que tá se falando muito nisso, né, em substituição de trabalho de vendas, e acho que a resposta do Aaron deu uma visão fantástica nesse sentido. And we have one more question here, the last one. So first, in Portuguese, o que a gente quer perguntar agora pro Aaron, pessoal, é que por mais agitado que seja o cenário, aderir a ele leva tempo, né? E o Aaron fala muito sobre tomar o tempo necessário para crescer um negócio, né? Então, como é que a gente pode manter o nosso time engajado durante esse processo ao longo de todo esse tempo, aderindo a inovações, a novas coisas? Como manter o time sempre positivo e engajado ao longo desse tomar tempo que Aaron menciona? So, Aaron, the question is, even though we are seeing things happening really fast, the adoption of any innovation takes time. And you talk a lot about doing the time in the process of growing any business, any kind of business. So, how do you keep your team engaged while doing the time, as you say?
Yeah. I think it's a great question because we never know how long things will take. We can kind of try to take a guess. We're never right. It's always going to take longer or shorter. And so I think, while the world to me becomes a bit more chaotic, so I do believe that as we get more connected as societies and people, that we're going to continue to see more surprises, right? Because whether it's a war in Europe or the pandemic or AI or things just happen faster around the world. And so while there's more chaos, and I believe that will continue to happen, more uncertainty, right? I don't believe the world will be more predictable in the future, no matter what the tools are. I believe it's going to be more unpredictable, more chaotic. So how can you and your team continue to not be prepared? Being prepared implies, okay, there's going to be an earthquake. So let's be prepared. We have the food, water, and other things stored so that when it happens, we know what to do. I think the world, you need to be ready. All you know is there's going to be a crisis or opportunity, but you don't know what it's going to be until it is in front of you. So how can you be ready? So with your team, to me, like one of the things that is the most important that hasn't happened in the past as much, but I believe this is so important for the future is, as simple as it sounds, it's actually harder. It's the practice of shifting as a manager or leader your emotional state from getting things done and getting people to do things to caring about your people, to caring about your customers, to caring about yourself. And what I mean by that is that most of us, if you've had more than one or two or a few managers, had managers where, and you can also think it could be other places like teachers or, romantic partners. Those the manager. If you've had a manager that just wanted you to hit the numbers, and you could tell they didn't care about you, they only cared about your results, and what that felt like, which means you don't feel much loyalty to them. And you compare that if you've had a manager, and I know many people who haven't, if you've actually had a manager that's really cared about you as a person, then you respond back to them. You just naturally respond back to care more about them, more about the team, more about the company, more about customers. So I think that's one of the most important things that a manager or a leader can do and it's an emotional shift. It's not something you do differently. It's an emotional shift to practice. Oh, there's a person I'm talking to. They're a person. They've got hopes. They've got dreams. Maybe a family to care about them. Because in the world where everything is going more virtual, and it won't be that long before we've got more synthetic people online, powered by AI, whether chatbots or video, pretend people, and there's less loyalty. That human connection, whether it's between a manager and a leader to their teams or teams to customers, is to be more important than ever to create that bond to help a team be ready to be prepared. To be ready for whatever happens. And I'll give you one more example, just to try to illustrate it, because I know this idea of caring it can be fuzzy. With my children, right? I might I can do the same action, which is uh, say clean your room. I'll just pick a simple one: clean your room. I can say that from a place of I just want it done, and I don't really care about them. I care more about the result. Or I can still say, "Hey, clean your room," in coming from a place of caring about them. I want them to have a nice room, or to learn a skill, or to be able to kind of sort through their things. It doesn't really matter why, but the words are the same, the action's the same, but they can feel the difference. They may not like it, but it does come across feeling different. So if I'm a leader, hey, make the numbers, or at least I want you to make the numbers, um, whether you can or not, or I only care about you as long as you're making your numbers. Versus I care about you and I want you to make the numbers both for the team and for yourself. It comes across. It feels different in the two different ways you deliver it. But what it does is people can tell the difference. And that is going to be something that's going to help tie teams together and customers to your company as well, regardless of what happens in the world. Because we don't know what's going to happen. You just have to be ready for anything.
Perfect. Thank you, Aaron. Ok, guys, essas eram as perguntas que nós tínhamos para ninguém menos que Aaron Ross, mais uma vez compondo aqui o conteúdo das semanas de vendas B2B, que está recheado de conteúdo fantástico e, pô, mais uma vez contando com uma presença ilustre muito especial, que é o Aaron, que eu tenho certeza que fez parte da capacitação, da introdução às vendas e até hoje é uma figura extremamente importante e relevante no cenário de vendas, mundialmente falando. E está aqui conosco no evento da Plume. So, Aaron, one more time, I would like to thank you very, very much, man. It's a huge pleasure to have you here at the B2B Sales Week. And I really hope we can talk to you one more time soon. So, thank you very much for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Octavio.
Ok, guys. See you soon. Pessoal, a todos que acompanharam até aqui, a gente se vê numa próxima. A semana de vendas tem muito conteúdo sensacional para oferecer para vocês. Então, espero que aproveitem, absorvam da melhor forma possível e levem para a prática tudo aquilo que vocês conseguirem para gerar impactos reais nos resultados e rotinas de vendas de vocês. A gente se vê numa próxima. Thank you, Aaron. See you soon. Abraço a todos, pessoal.